What's good, y'all? Tristan here, and today I'm going to be embarking on about a month-long journey where I'll be traveling to about 5 countries around Europe before I head back home to the United States. I'm currently in Sydney, Australia, and in about, what time is it? Like 5 hours, I'm going to be heading to Zadar, Croatia. Now, traveling this much in 2020 and soon to be 2021 is incredibly difficult. There's a lot of extra hoops you're going to have to jump through, but it is possible for most people. And even if your country's not letting you travel yet, like, eventually, soon, like, they have to open up travel eventually. And when that is, travel is just going to be different. So it is my goal in this video to show you what that's gonna look like, how it's gonna be, what the flight process is gonna look like, how you're gonna cross borders, safety precautions, things you will and won't be able to do. And I'll say right off the bat, first thing that is gonna be a must for travel is these bad boys, a face mask. Whether you like them or not, you're probably not gonna be able to get anywhere without one of these bad boys. Now, I'll be giving you more tips as we go, but first, I gotta take off to my flight because it leaves in about 5 hours, and in this time of Corona, you want to allow for extra time. Things are gonna come up, so I'm getting to the airport about 3.5 hours before my flight, much more early than I usually would. So that's the second thing about traveling during Corona is you just gotta allow for some extra time. All right, so we're about to board the flight and it is empty in this airport. There's literally no one here. 50 people on my flight and the plane holds like hundreds, but one thing I was not expecting coming here is they are requiring all of us to wear a face shield. So these were provided by the airline, Qatar Airways, and for the entire flight, the layover and the next flight, the entire time we were with Qatar Airways, they're requiring us to wear this mask and this face shield. So definitely it's not going to be great sleeping in this, but you know, it's what you got to do to travel in 2020, 2021, and this is something that you might see in your flight in the future. So we've made it to our connecting airport, and I just want to address a couple of differences I've noticed so far. So the one that was the biggest surprise to me is that we still got food on the flight. I have heard that due to social distancing, a lot of flights have canceled all that like continental like peanuts, pretzels, the little snacks that you get. But our flight, we got 2 meals and some snacks. So that was a surprise, but don't expect that on every flight. That might just be on the longer flights. I know my mom flies all the time for her job, even with the pandemic, but they're all short flights, like 30 minutes to 2 hours, real short. And she has not gotten anything, no drinks, no soda, no anything that they usually serve on those short flights, none of it. The second thing you might be able to expect is a little sanitation bag. So on the plane, we got these little bags. They had just some hand sanitizer in them and some rubber gloves. By no means was it required to wear them, but everyone on the plane did get them. Everyone's experience is going to be different. Just the difference between the Sydney airport and this airport is stark. Like the Sydney airport had no shops open. There's one shop in the entire airport that was open, or the entire international terminal that was open. Here in Doha, even though it's not that busy, I mean busier than Sydney, but still not that busy, every single shop is open. The biggest takeaway I would say is definitely bring snacks with you on your carry-on, because 1, you don't know if they're going to serve food on your airplane, probably depends on the length of the flight, and 2, you don't know if the shops in the airport are going to be open. That also goes for water. I filled my 1-liter bottle up in the sink of the last airport, and then I got to this airport and all the water fountains are turned off, closed, like wrapped up, just because, yeah, don't want to be spreading germs there. Alright, y'all, I've now been traveling for over a month. I've been to Bosnia, Croatia, Montenegro, and Turkey. And I want to elaborate on some of the things that I've already mentioned in this video and give you 5 more things that you should know before traveling in 2020 and 2021. These things are just general tips and some useful bits of information that I think will be helpful to you if you're looking to travel in the near future. So just to reiterate, it is definitely important to get there early. I've taken now like what, 4 or 5 flights at this point, and I was thinking it wasn't that important to get to the airport, or to get to the airport early, because there's nobody there. So you show up and you just boom, instantly get to the plane. It's actually been really quick. However, my last flight had some extra complications. There were things with like there's a form I didn't fill out that I needed to fill out. I didn't know before I got there. And then there's some issue with my luggage. So overall, it took me over an hour just to get through the check-in desk. It might not be completely necessary, but I think it's still a smart thing to show up early when traveling in this time. Also, an absolute must is figure out your water situation. All the water fountains at all the airports I've been to have been shut down. So there's no way to get water, so you either have to buy it from a place or fill it up in the sink of a bathroom. So I don't know, just something you might want to be prepared when going on your flight. Alright, now after traveling to 6 countries on 4 different continents, here are the 5 bits of information that I think are the most important for you to know when traveling. The first is know exactly what you need to get into a country. This is probably the hardest part, is knowing where can you go. And my recommendation is just Google where can Americans, where can Australians, where can wherever country you're from travel in 2020 or travel now. And you'll find, I don't know, found like an article by CNN. You just find a bunch of articles, like it changes every week. So you just find like some recent article that posts all the different countries that are open and use that as a guideline for where you can travel, but do not accept that as like being completely real. So what you want to do after that is you want to go look at, like, maybe pick some countries on there that you're the most interested in, go to their country's website and look at the requirements to get into the country. There are very few countries that just let anybody in. For every country I went to besides Turkey and America, I needed to present a COVID test. It had to be a PCR test and it had to be taken within 48 hours of crossing the border into that country. Yes, it's kind of inconvenient. It gets a little bit expensive. I had to pay 80 euros to get my test, but definitely the most important part of traveling is just know what you need to get into whatever country you want to go to. Most likely it's a COVID test. Also, usually there were some forms that I had to fill out, like where am I going to be staying. You might have to give them your phone number and email so they can track you down in case like someone around you has has coronavirus. Completely varies country to country, but those are the major things that I have seen. Now, the second thing you should know before traveling to a new country in this time is check their COVID guidelines and COVID restrictions. Not restrictions getting into the country, but restrictions once they're there. So every single country I went to besides America has had a curfew. In Croatia it was midnight, then they brought it to 10. In Montenegro it was 9 p.m. In Turkey it was 8 p.m. However, the one in Turkey only applied to locals. It didn't actually apply to tourists. In Turkey there were mask mandates, and I met tourists who got big heavy fines for not wearing their mask or wearing it below their mouth. Now, number 3 is plan your trip around COVID-friendly activities. So what I mean by this is things like national parks are excellent things to do during this time. It's outside, it's going to be more spread out, there's a lower likelihood that it is closed. Depending on the country, you might want to avoid group tours, or group tours might not even be something that are being offered. Are you wanting to go somewhere to see their museums? Might want to check to see if they're open first. I know when I was in Dubrovnik, there are some things there, a lot of things in Dubrovnik were shut that I really wanted to see. Now, in complete contradiction to what I just said, the fourth thing is I want to say stay flexible and don't plan too much. My style of travel is naturally incredibly unplanned. I usually don't know what I'm going to do the next day or where I'm going to be until the night before, like maybe 2 days before. But I cannot stress how important that is to have flexible plans, because restrictions change. When I was in Turkey, there were like, it was 8 p.m. curfew, everything was open all the time. And then while I was there, I found out that they were completely shutting like everything down on the weekends, but keeping things open during the week. So, but again, it doesn't apply to tourists, but it applies to locals. So all the shops, all the places you wanted to go, any museum, any tour you want to do, all that, locals went around to operate them. So if you're a tourist, the only thing you can do is pretty much walk the streets on your own or go hiking on the weekends. And this doesn't have to do with just restrictions, but like this happened several times where we would go somewhere that we thought was open. There was nothing we could find online saying it was open or not, or online sometimes it would say it's open, and then we would get there and it would be closed. So we had to think of something else to do. So plans just changed a lot, I noticed, as I was traveling, like more so than usual. So try to keep your schedule to be as flexible as possible. Like I'm talking, don't even book your return flight home until like maybe 3 days before you're gonna leave, because I know people who went to a country and then while they're in that country, the country shut down. Instead of staying there in a lockdown or flying all the way home, then they would just fly to another like nearby country. But if they had already booked a ticket home from that country, then they would be stuck staying in that country, or they'd be like stuck like, I don't know, losing their flight. And the fifth and possibly most important tip is manage your own risks. So I am someone, I'm not a very safe person. I'm very like willing to take risks. So for me, I had no problems traveling to Turkey, Croatia, these places where COVID was on the rise, and it was kind of shown that they might have been fudging their numbers a little bit in Turkey too. So you just have to accept that there is a chance that you're gonna get COVID-19. There is a risk to being stuck in a foreign country, maybe not having access to the best health insurance, or getting it right before your flight home and having to quarantine for like 2 weeks in that said country before you can get home. There really are tons of risks to this. Like I am young and healthy, so I felt like I would be fine if for some reason I got it. But if you maybe have pre-existing conditions, if you're older, if you're coming home, returning home to your grandparents or older family members, like you probably don't want to travel. You might want to be more cautious. But the biggest message I want to send here is you have to respect everybody's risk tolerance levels and every country's risk tolerant levels. So you're going to countries most likely that have a very high risk tolerance, places like Mexico who are completely open. I know for me personally, I felt like such a genuinely good tourist when I was buying things in these countries, and so many of these small business owners in countries like Turkey that aren't getting any support from the government like are really struggling, and you could just tell like how much you were helping them. Like just buying like a thing of juice to them meant so much more than like in a typical year if you bought a thing of juice to them. And for me, as silly as it sounds, I felt like my impact on that local like community, like wherever I was so much more significant than usual and so much more positive. I truly felt like great, like unapologetic about traveling, which is something you don't necessarily experience usually when traveling. So I don't know, there's two sides to the coin. I just gotta say, go go at your own risk. Don't criticize people who are traveling, but you also have to respect the people who aren't. And it's all of our responsibilities to be as safe as possible. So as I said earlier, whenever you're traveling, whether it's on the plane, whether it's mandated or not, it's best that you wear a mask and do your best to still keep everyone safe. Now I'm sure you have a whole lot of questions about traveling during this time, so that is why I'm gonna be doing a part 2, like follow-up to this video, where I'm gonna be answering every single question that you give me about traveling, what my recommendations are. I've gotten so many questions on Instagram over the past like month or two while I've been traveling that I figured, you know what, might as well make a video where I answer them all. So any comments y'all comment below, I'll be answering them in an upcoming video I'll probably post in a week or two, and I'll also go check out my Instagram because I'll be asking more questions on there. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this video helpful, and peace out, guys.